Okay, Be'ezus Hashem. Today's daf, Masechta Baba Kama, the new Masechta, with daf Gimel. We're going to start from Beis Amud Beis, like 4 or 5 lines from the top. Tanu Rabbanan. The reason why we're starting here, because here Tanu Rabbanan, this is a very good introduction of the whole Masechta, so we start from here, and then everything will make sense because it's one topic over here. So let's just bring up a few psukim over here in Parshas Mishpatim, and just learn them together, so we'll easily understand what the Gemara is saying. The Torah tells us v'chiyigach shor es ish. V'chiyigach, yigach is an unknown word, but I'm going to translate to you. It means he gores with its horns. Shor, an ox or any other animal, right? Es ish or es isha. A man or a woman, right? V'meis, and the guy died because he got gored by an animal. Okay. Hi, Louis. We just began. We're just doing the psukim. So the Torah tells if an animal belonging to somebody gores a human being and kills him, so first thing you do is sakel hashar. You kill the shar. You give it skila, and v'lo ye'achel es b'sarai. And even if you decide to slaughter the animal and you want to eat it, you can't eat the meat. It's aser b'hana. And ubal hashar naki, but you don't. The owner of the ox, it's not his fault. He goes clean. He goes clean from any punishment. However, if the here the Torah tells you what's called a muad. A muad means that you could have warned him. In other words, you could have warned him. If this was an ox that gored people before, the day before, for some reason it wasn't killed. Let's say it ran away and went back to its owner and killed again. And each time they warned the owner that you got a wild ox and you got to watch it. And he didn't watch it. And then he killed somebody. Here the Torah says, Hashar yisokel, you give the shar skila, v'gam ba'olav yumas. Here the Torah says that the owner of the ox should be killed. But the Torah gives you a way to get out of it. If he could pay to himself, he could redeem his soul. In koife yushas olav, if he puts on a payment that's put on him, then the nasan pidyoy nafshik chol ashiyusas olav. Whatever the judges decide, payment the owner of the ox should pay. So then he has to pay, and that protects the owner. He's really supposed to chayev misa because he didn't watch his shar, right? So by putting koifer on him, he now could redeem his soul, and he doesn't really get killed, right? So the Torah tells you it doesn't matter who this ox gored, or ben yigach, or bas yigach, whether it gored a small kid or a small girl. Kamishpat hazeh yasa, like the same halachas which we just described. The first time we don't fault the owner of the ox, we just kill the ox. But it's the third time, then we fault the owner of the ox. Besides killing the ox, the owner has to give koifer. And then the Torah says, okay, eved yigach hashara. If the animal killed a slave or a maid, then kes, and it's a muad, right? Because again, kesav shloishim shkolim yitin ladoina v'ashar yisokel. Then the Torah tells us that you give 30 shekels and you kill the shar. Okay, we'll learn more about that later. Then the Torah says, and this is the last thing, the shar ish share'eo. Here, the Torah changes the language and says gigoif, if it gored, gigoif could also mean gored. A shar ish, a share'eu, v'meis, it gored another animal, and it's of equal value, right? That's what the Torah is talking about. If it's of equal value, so then what do you do? So if it's the first time, you sell the live ox and you split the difference. That means you pay half. And then you sell the dead animal and you split that. So basically, if it's the first time, the owner of the ox will only have to pay half of the animal by selling the animal. In this context means if it was known that this was a goring ox from yesterday, the day before, and v'lo yishmeran balav, and the owner didn't watch the animal. So then, and it killed another animal. Shalim mishal mashar tachas ashar. He should pay the entire ox that he killed to replace the ox belonging to the victim. And the dead carcass belongs to the owner of the dead ox. So we'll see more about that. So let's go back into the Gemara. We're starting Tanur Rabbanan, about 6 lines from the top of Beis Beis. Tanur Rabbanan, Gimel Avos Never Bashar. There are 3 avos that the Torah discusses if your property, if something belonging to you does damage. And 3 times the Torah says an av that's said by an ox. HaKeren, if the ox damages with the horn, Vashen, with the teeth, V'haregel, and with the foot. Now, Keren Manola, how do we know that the Torah is talking about where the animal damaged someone with its horns? The Torah Rabbanan, the Brisa taught, Ki yigach. The Torah says, Ki yigach. What does the word yigach mean? So I told you what it means. So the Gemara Brisa explains, Ein nigicha ela b'keren. The word nigicha only means when the animal does a damage with its horn. Shenema, v'yaslo Tzidkiyahu ben Kanani karni Bava Daf Yomi koyim Hashem be'ela tenaga chesaram. Tzidkiyahu ben Kanani made a makeshift horns made of iron, and he said, so said Hashem, with these horns, we're going to gore the Aram people. Okay, so we see that in the context of tenagach, we refer to as horns. So when the Torah says ki yigach, it means that the animal did damage with its horns. V'oimer, and there's another pasuk that says, B'char sharai hadar loi, his firstborn bull, hadar loi, majesty is his. The karne re'eim karnov, the horns of a wild ox are his horns. Behem, with these horns, amim yinagach, he will gore the nations. So we have 2 psukim that indicate that the word nigicha means that your animal does damages with a horn. So the first pasuk is from Tanakh. The second pasuk is from the Chumash. So Ma'ava Omer, why do we bring 2 psukim? Do you want to say, Divrei Torah, Divrei Kabbalah Yafinam? I can't learn the word ki yigach in the Chumash from the language that it says in the Tanakh, in the Navi, because we have a rule: the words of Torah cannot be derived from the words of the Navi. So that's why we bring, even in the Chumash, the Torah uses the word negicha, referring to a horn. Tashma b'char shar hadalai. So the Gemara says, "Why melefu?" What's the problem with that? Are you learning a new halacha, a new din, a new mitzvah? Yes. We're just learning the translation of a word. So if you don't know the translation of a word and somehow you could figure it out from the Navi, so that should be sufficient. We found out from the Navi, the negicha, the word negicha b'kerenhu. The word negicha refers that the animal does damage with the horns. So that's the Gemara's question. So why do you bring another pasuk? Oh, I can prove to you that negicha means the horns from a pasuk in the Chumash. Says the Gemara, the same I would have thought. Ki palakach mora ben tam lemuad hani milud flusha ava b'muchuberes emakula edisi tarshama b'char shayre hadalai. Because the reason why I bring 2 psukim, because from the first pasuk that you bring in Navi, I would have thought that if that's what the Torah was referring to, that the word negicha means where the animal takes a horn in its mouth and somehow gores another animal, uses it as like a weapon. Then the Torah says that there's a difference between the first time the animal does something like that. We'll differentiate between if it does it the first time or it does it the third time. That with the first time you pay half and the third time you pay full. But if it does damage with the horn that's connected to its body, I might think that that is really the normal way an animal does damage. And even the first time, it will be considered a muad, which means it will pay the entire damages, even the first time. Tashma, that's what we come to tell is B'char Shar Har Delay. From that pasuk that you see that the word negicha means the animal does damage with the horn that's connected to its body. That's why we bring another pasuk. It's more clear in the second pasuk that the animal is doing damage with the horn connected to its body. And on this, our parsha, which we just learned, differentiates between if the animal did it the first time, he pays half a nezek, half the damages, and if he does it the third time, he pays the full nezek. Now the Gemara wants to know, told the Karen Mahi, the Torah, what is considered a subcategory of the horns? What's considered a subcategory? So the Gemara says negifa, if the animal pushes another animal, nishicha, if the animal out of anger, it's like an animal fight. Nishicha, if the animal bites another animal. Revitze, crouches and squashes another animal. Be'ita, it gives a wild kick, like, you ever see a giraffe give a kick. So if it does all those things, that falls under the category of Karen. Because when the Torah says Karen, it's just an example. But anyway, an animal does damage when it's angry, using its body force. That is called Karen. So the Gemara says, you told me negifa means pushing, and pushing is a subcategory. Wait a second, the Torah does use the word negifa. Maishna negicha the karile ab. If it does damage with the horns, you're calling it an ab ksiv ki yigach. Negifa nam ksiv yigayf. The Torah also uses the word yigayf to refer. The Torah does say ki yigayf shar ish shar re'eu. So pushing should be also considered an av, something written in the Torah. Says the Gemara, hi negifa, negichi. That negifa that it says in the Chumash doesn't mean the animal push. It's another way to say negicha. It's really doing the damage with the horns. The Tanya, we learned in Brisa, pasach benegifa v'sayim benegifa. The Torah starts off with the word negifa and ends off with the word negicha. That they're both the same word. So I'm bringing up the psukim. I want to show it to you again. One pasuk says chiga shar isha umeis, it kills, and another pasuk yigoif shar isha shareo, it kills another animal. So yigoif and yigoich are both the same thing, which means the animal is doing it with its horns, not using power force. So why does the Torah switch the language? It's teaching you a side halacha. The muad la'adam have a muad l'behema loy have a muad la'adam. That means that if the animal did it 3 times, killing a human being, so then we consider it a muad, that if it kills an animal for the first time, at time number 4, it's considered a muad that it will pay full damages for the animal. But let's say an animal killed another animal 3 times, muad l'behema, then it kills a human being. So that by killing the human being at the 4th time, so the first 3 times it killed the animals, the 4th time it killed a human being, since it's the first time it kills a human being, it's considered a tam. It's regarding a human being, and there is no koifer, right? The muad la'adam I have a mudesh. So now the Gemara says like this. We skipped that because the Gemara says the reason is Adam islay mazla ki ksev yigach behemoth leslay mazola ki yigav. The Torah uses the word yigach when it refers to that the animal is goring a human being. That's a more intense language because a human being, to kill a human being is very hard because a human being knows how to protect himself. So the animal had to use real yigicha. But to kill another animal, the Torah uses a lesser form of killing, called yigoif. Anyway, both of them mean you killed with the horn. So let's go further. Nishicha, you told me that biting is a subcategory of keren. Frag the Gemara, biting, you're using your mouth. Tolda the sheni, that's the tolda of using your teeth. Answers the Gemara, loy. Shein hu yesh hanol azekei. Ha ein hanol azekei. Shein means you're eating something and you enjoy it. Here, a biting on because the animal's angry, that wouldn't fall. The animal has no benefit from that type of damage, and therefore that's not considered shein. Revitza ubiita told the regal he crouching or kicking, that should be using the foot. That's another way to damage. It's not a subcategory of horns. And so the Gemara, no, loy. Regal has a kimotzi. Regal means trampling with the feet. Let's say it crushes, wheat or something like that and damages food products. So that's normal. It happens as the animal is walking. Hani, but these the following are not common. It's only when the animal's in a fighting mood and then it kicks another animal. So Ella told the same. Rav Papa made a statement in the previous Gemara that some subcategories do not have the same din as the main category, and we just announced that when the animal does damage with the horn, that's a main category. And then there's subcategories where it bites or pushes another animal or kicks another animal. So are they the same? Do they have the same halacha? Did Rav Papa say that these are different? No. Maishna Karen, the regular Karen, is the reason is the Torah says that the Karen, the owner has to pay because the kavanose lahazik, the animal's intention is to damage another animal or a human being, and the animal that's doing the damage is the property of the owner, and therefore he has to watch it. Haninami, when the animal does damage in other ways, such as kicking and pushing and biting, the animal's kavanose lahazik, its intention is to do damage. It's your money, and you have to watch it. So whatever halacha you're going to put on Karen should apply to the subcategory of Karen. So it must be El Tolda de Karen ke Karen. The Toldas of Karen have the same din of Karen. When the Rav Papa say his din is on Shein V'Regel, when the animal does damage through the teeth and through the foot. So let's quickly learn the psukim. The next pasuk is a very important pasuk. Kiyaver ish, the Torah tells you, Kiyaver ish, sada v'karim. If a man leads his animal into a field or a vineyard, v'shilach as be'iroi, and he sent his animal to pasture without paying attention, and the animal went and damaged with its feet. The word v'shilach means we're going to teach it that the animal damaged with the feet. Ubier, most people teach this wrong, not that, and he consumed, or the animal damaged by consuming. The u means or, it damaged by consuming using its teeth. And bisdei acher, it happened in another field, so you damage somebody else's field, meitiv sadeh, meitiv kamisham. The owner of the animal has to pay the best of his field and the best of his vineyard. We're going to see more about that. So that is the damage when the animal does damage by shein or regel. Say the Gemara, Shein v'regel hechik sivu. What is the pasuk that talks about Shein v'regel? The Tanya we learned in the Brayso of Shilach zeh regel. When the animal does the damage with its feet, that's called shilach. V'cheinu oimer b'shalchi regel hashar v'chamor. So when a person sends the feet of his animal, so the word shilach means you're sending your animal off on its own to walk, and if it damages as it's walking, that's called regel. What's beer? Beer is Hashem. When the animal does the damage is through its teeth. The pasuk says, "Kashi va'er." We go to the top of Gimel Amarav. Hagolol atumai. As teeth. Golol is another odd vocabulary word, but it refers to teeth. When the teeth consume until things are gone. So the word ubir in the pasuk must be referring to teeth, and the word shilach must be referring to when the animal is doing damage by trampling. Amamar, we learned in the Brayso, v'shilach zu haregel, v'chein huoimim mishalchi regel shav v'chamar. V'shilach, which was undefined in the Chumash, how the animal is doing damage, we're going to teach it means that the animal did damage by its feet. Because the Torah says, v'chalchi regel shav v'chamar, and there the Torah uses the word regel next to the word shin lamed ches. So the Gemara says, time of the cost of rachmar mishalchi regel shav v'chamar. It's only because you have this hint that regel is from the word shin lamed ches. It's from another pasuk, halav hachi. But if you didn't have that pasuk, but my mukmit law, what would you tell me that the pasuk is discussing? Through the process of elimination, I would have understood on my own that v'shilach means regel. I don't need another pasuk to teach me that the v'shilach in that pasuk that we just mentioned is regel, because Karen, if the animal's doing damage over here, with its horns, ksiv. That's another pasuk. Ki yigach is ishen. If the Torah refers that the animal is doing damage with its teeth, ksiv. That's another pasuk. Ubir. So I don't need you to tell me v'shilach means that right over here that means v'regel, because I have another pasuk. By process of elimination, I know it means that the animal is doing damage by trampling. So the Gemara says, no, Itzrach, I would have thought, that both V'shilach Ubir are both referring to the animal doing damage with its teeth. And the Torah gives you two examples of where the animal does damage with its teeth. One, that the animal just damaged the produce so much that now it will not regrow back unless you plant it again. And sometimes the animal just takes the nibble off the top, but it's the plant is still going to grow further. So the Torah would give you two examples of shame, but the regel is not something that the owner would be obligated if the animal did damage. Kamash Milan. That's why I need another pasuk to teach me that no, that Vishilach is actually referring to when the animal did damage with its feet, and that the owner of that animal is obligated if the animal does damage with feet. Now, Hashdoi Kmina Regel. Now that you said that pasuk Vishilach means that it's referring to regel, right? That Vishilach refers to regel, and Ubir is the only pasuk referring to Shane. So Shane Deloy Mechali Kalam Menolam. How would I know when the teeth when it eats just the nibble off the top that the owner has to pay? Maybe the Torah uses the word Ubir, which means that the animal consumed the whole plant that it ate, that now it's not going to regrow. But let's say the animal nibbled off the top and it's going to regrow further. How do you know the owner of the animal will still be obligated to pay? Answers the Gemara, Dumi de Regel, because there's a hekish that compares the Shane damage to the regel damage. Ma regel loishno mechali kana, loishno loy mechali kana. By regel, there's no difference if it tramples it and the plant will never regrow. It's totally destroyed. Or if it's not destroyed, the owner is obligated. Shane loishno mechali kana, loishno loy mechali kana. It doesn't matter the Shane when the animal consumes something. It doesn't matter if he just nibbled off the top or if he totally destroyed it. Of course, you're obligated. The owner is obligated to pay. So we just established right now from the first part of this page that v'shilach in that pasuk refers to the damage that the animal does with its feet. Amamar ubir. It says in the pasuk ubir. So now zu hashem. That means that the animal did damage with its teeth by eating produce that doesn't belong to him. Because the word vir we find in another pasuk refers to teeth. Says the Gemara, if you didn't have that pasuk to tell you that ubir means with the teeth, that extra pasuk, what would I have said ubir means? It can't mean anything. Ikaren, if it's referring to the animal's damaging with its horns, ksiv, it says it somewhere else. Iregel, if it's the animal's doing damage with its feet, ksiv, we have another pasuk, v'shilach. So in other words, by process of elimination, I could figure out on my own that when the Torah wrote ubir right over here, it was referring to the teeth. So the Gemara says, no, itzrach, I still need it. I would have thought arega. Both shilach ubir are both referring to the feet. It doesn't matter. Here, the Torah is telling you that the Torah, I would have thought that maybe the only Torah was obligating regel is only if the animal, the owner of the animal, sent the animal off to pasture in somebody else's field. But if the animal on its own walked and without being sent by the owner, I might think you're not obligated. That's why the Torah wrote two psukim on ubir, that no matter how this animal came about to trample on somebody else's field, whether the owner sent him or it went on its own, you'll still be obligated. That's why I need the pasuk ubir to tell me no, that yes, shilach refers to regel, and only shilach refers to regel. Ubir, the extra word bir, refers to shein. So now the question goes back. Now that you said this pasuk refers to shein, how do you know regel that goes by on its own? How do you know the owner is obligated? Maybe the Torah only obligated the owner of the ox if he sent the animal off into somebody else's field. How do you know he'll still be obligated if the animal walked on its own? Do me the shein, we compare it to shein. There's a hekesh. Ma shein loishna shalcha shluchei loishna da'azma memela. Af regel loishna shalcha shluchei loishna da'azma memela. That since the Torah doesn't use the word shilach to shein, the Torah says ubir. We just look at the damage that it does. So also by regel, we don't care how the animal got into somebody's field, whether the owner sent it or went on its own. We compare it to shein. And therefore, on all circumstances, the owner will be obligated to pay when his animal does regel. Says the Gemara. So now we have two psukim. One, v'shilach refers to shein, refers to regel. Ubiyah refers to shein. Says the Gemara. Another question. The hashda oika ashein lichter rachmana v'shilach v'lo yiboya biyah. Let the Torah write v'shilach and not write the word ubiyah. Because the mashma regel, mashma shein, mashma regel, the mishalch regel sheva chamor, umashma shein v'shen behemus ashalch bam. What the Gemara's question is that let the Torah, if it wants to teach you that the animal's damaging with regel and shein, then the Torah should write just one word v'shilach, because the word v'shilach, we have psukim that's indicate that the word v'shilach could be referring to regel, and then there's another pasuk that v'shen behemus ashalach bam, that the word v'shilach could also refer to shein. So with one word you can accomplish both of them. Says the Gemara. So why do I need two words, shilach and be'ira? Says the Gemara, ilav kro yisera, if I didn't have an extra pasuk, havamina oiha oy regel dehezeka matzah oy shein deyeshanol lezeka. I wouldn't say it means both. I would say either it refers to regel, because regel we fault the owner of the animal because it's a common damage, and he should be more careful to watch his ox, or shein, because the owner should be more careful because there's an inner drive to the animal to do damage, to eat. So, but I will never say it refers to both. So the Gemara says, how do you know? Miktei shkulin him. It could equally refer to regel. It could equally refer to shein. V'yavayish name the heimini mapkis. Let two things be written. Let two things come out from that one pasuk, and say it refers to both shein and both regel. So the Gemara says, if it would just say v'shilach, I would say that the only time the owner of the animal will be obligated if his animal does damage through regel or shein will only be if he sent it. If he was the one that caused the animal to go into somebody else's field. But if the animal went on its own, I wouldn't know that that the owner of the animal would be obligated. So that's why the Torah wrote ubir to refer to shein, although v'shilach alone could refer to shein as well. Okay, so the Gemara just went through this whole page to just describe what the pasuk was discussing. Okay, so another 3 minutes we'll stop. 3-4 minutes. We're just going to turn the page. Tolda de shein mahi. What is an example of tolda de shein, of a subcategory of shein? Remember, shein means the animal ate something, but enjoys it. It comes into its stomach. So the Gemara gives you an example. Let's say the animal scratched its back against the wall and knocked the whole wall down. Or it rolled onto, let's say, they have a barrel of apple, a whole box of apples, and the animal went in and started to roll around and dirtied up all the fruits. And it enjoys itself. But it's the subcategory because it's not using its teeth, but it's enjoying itself. And it has an inner drive to do that. So then why is it any different than the shein itself? The point of shein is it enjoys itself, and it's your money, and you're obligated to watch it. So haninami, all these subcategories, it's your money. The animal enjoys when it does this thing, and you're obligated to watch it. So therefore, the tolda of shein pays the same amount that a regular shein. The subcategory pays exactly the same amount that a regular shein would pay. El tolda shein kishein. V'ki kama Rav Papa. When did Rav Papa say there's a difference between the subcategory and the main category that's written in Torah? Al tolda de regel. He was referring to the Torah of regel, the tolda of trampling, the subcategory of trampling. Wait a second. Tolda de regel mai. Give me an example of a subcategory of trampling. So what is, again, trampling means it's just, as it's walking, it's just trampling on produce. So I'll give you another example. Hezika bagufa derechilucha. Let's say as the animal walks, it just brushes aside something and damages. Bisara derechilucha. Its hair got caught into something and it damaged something. B'shlif shalal, with the rope that's on it. B'prumbiya shebepiyah, with the bit that's in its mouth, bezuk shebetzavara, with the bell on its neck. All these things, as the animal walks and it's clumsily walking, it does damage. It's not doing the damage with its foot that it's crushing something, but it could damage with its body as it walks. So that's the subcategory of regel. So the Gemara says, "Maishno regel de'azeikemotzi." That's a common way it does damage. And it's your money, and you're obligated to watch it. Haninami, all these other categories, hazeikim that's you're obligated to watch it. So therefore, whatever you have to pay when you do damage by regel, the subcategory you should also have to pay as well. El told the regel karegel. The subcategory of regel is like regel. Papa told the bar. Papa was referring to the pit. So the Gemara says, told the bar maniho. We're going to go into we'll read the pasuk another time. But the subcategory of a bar, again, the Torah says if you open a bar If you dig a pit on Queens Boulevard, right, you're obligated to pay. You're obligated to pay if somebody dies there. Okay, or if a shar or chamar dies there. So what does it mean? If you dig the pit 10 tvachim and told her the subcategory is tes, is 9 tvachim, loy tes ksiv, like you ksiv. The Torah doesn't tell you that you're obligated to pay if you dig a certain amount of a pit. It doesn't say that in the pasuk. So why do you call that a subcategory? Of the lemisa tas nezikin of the misa loyavde. The Torah does refer to a case. The Torah says if you dig a pit and on a public place and an animal falls there and dies, then you're obligated to pay. The owner of the pit has to pay, the one that dug the pit. But the Torah was referring to where the animal died. But that's not the only thing that the Torah was referring to. The Torah's case happened to be the animal died, and the Rabbanan have a rule that if you dig a pit 10 tvachim, that could kill an animal. If you dug a 9 tefach pit, it could damage the animal, but you'll still be obligated to pay. It doesn't matter. This is a category written in the Torah. This is if you dig it 10 tefachim, you're chayev if the animal dies. If you dig a pit 9 tefachim, you're obligated if the animal got damaged. Ella, what is a subcategory of bar? Again, a bar means you dug a pit. So I'll give you another subcategory. You left a stone or a knife or a big load in the public place, and somebody tripped. So, hey, Chedami, what's the case? If the guy who left the item in the public place made it hefka, bein l'rab, bein l'shmuel, haina bar. That's the same thing, a bar. We go to Amud Beis, just 2 more lines. If you didn't make it hefka, if the guy didn't make it hefka and he still wants to come back and retrieve the item that he left in the middle of the street that everybody's tripping over, so that's shar. We already established that shar, the tolda of shar, is like shar. So according to Shmuel, even if you didn't mafker it, no matter what, if you leave an item in the middle of the street and people are tripping over it, that's a tolda of bar. So we're going to conclude. Ma'ishna bar. There's no difference by a bar. When a person digs a bar in the middle of it's bound to do a damage. It's just waiting to happen. And you're obligated to watch it. Haniname, so also if you leave your packages in the Rishus Harabim and people are tripping over it or going to trip over it, it's meant there, you put it there, it's eventually going to do damage. It's your money, you have to watch it. And therefore, whatever you're going to have to pay, just like you would have to pay if you dug a pit, you'll have to pay full price of the damages if you leave an item that somebody tripped over in the Rishus Harabim. The tolda de bar is kabar. The toldas of bar are like bar. All right, we'll continue Be'ez Hashem. Tomorrow we'll catch up on more of this stuff.
Where did we leave off?
Right over here.